Mike Phillips is with the Turner Endangered Species Fund, and he's one of the most articulate and exceptional wildlife biologists in the country, probably in North America, maybe the world. And he's here today to represent the Rocky Mountain Wolf Project, which is going to surprise you with a guest that, if you look in your bios, his name is Shaya, and he's the real thing. And so is this project. This is about reintroducing the gray wolf back into the historical territory in Colorado. There are wolves that have been reintroduced and successfully, as you know, in Yellowstone and the Northern Rockies. There's the Mexican gray wolf, which is coming along in Arizona and the Southwest. Where the gap is in the Colorado Rockies, the Southern Rockies, and that's where we are. The last wolf in Colorado was shot in 1940. And there's a lot of myths around wolves, and that's exactly what they are, myths. And we can coexist with them, and they are a magnificent species. Have any of you seen wolves? How many of you have actually howled with wolves? Me too. There's nothing more primal that you can experience in your heart and your spirit. So Mike is the perfect ambassador, along with Shaya, and please welcome Mike Phillips.
That was awfully kind, Sally. Thank you, folks, for coming. I typically stand in front of you in previous AREI-Days and speak about energy policy. I have served in the Montana legislature for many years as a state senator, so I appreciate all the work here. I believe the work here is what animates a new energy future, and that is the only future that will promote peace, prosperity, and justice for all of life all around the planet. But I'm not here to talk about energy today. No, I'm here to talk about the effort to restore gray wolves to the western half of Colorado. I would have you believe that this conversation is long overdue. It's long overdue for several reasons. We know there's widespread public support for gray wolves in Colorado. We know that there's very favorable patterns of land ownership in western Colorado. Nearly 17 million acres of federal public lands grace the western half of this state. We know those federal public lands support an abundance of prey. Indeed, in many ways, from a biological perspective, western Colorado is a veritable mother lode of opportunity for the gray wolf. We also know that there is continental significance to the effort. As Sally just mentioned, restoring gray wolves here would serve as the archstone, connecting wolves from the high Arctic to the Mexican border. There is no other place in the world where you can imagine large carnivore conservation over such a sweeping and continental landscape. There's a legal mandate. The gray wolf in western Colorado is listed as fully endangered under federal law. And finally, we know that wolf restoration fits the sensibilities of Colorado very well, as revealed by this video. I don't have a clicker, guys. How am I supposed to run things? Oh, well, I just hit the button. Now, this should be a video. 90 seconds worth of... Yeah.
There's a chorus we sing here in this place, Colorado. It rings from the Maroon Bells to Mile High. From the great sand dunes to the highest town in America. In the birthplace of rodeo and the cheeseburger, where snowmelt flows into every glass. We hear it floating on the breeze above Red Rocks or drifting way out into the backcountry where the wild things roam. And the air hums with life. It's our anthem to freedom. But listen carefully. One voice has gone missing. A note that rang through our mountains for eons has disappeared. Help us return this voice to Colorado.
Y'all are too easy. Y'all are entirely too easy. Singing, that's right. Okay, so fair enough. It's a conversation long overdue, but why in the world would y'all listen to me talk about it? Well, for the last 40 years, I have been as involved in wolf recovery and conservation as anybody in the country. I caught my first gray wolf for research purposes in 1980 in the Superior National Forest of northern Minnesota. I had the high honor of leading the Red Wolf Restoration Project in the Southeast, the first attempt in the history of mankind to ever restore a carnivore species determined extinct in the wild. I had the high honor of leading the Yellowstone Wolf Restoration Project. That's a black wolf that we're taking from the Rose Creek pen. It's anesthetized so we can take it to its release site and let it go. I've served on every Mexican wolf recovery team convened since 1995. Team Turner has been deeply involved in wolf recovery for the last 25 years. And finally, as I mentioned, I've served in the state legislature for over a decade, so I see the issue from a policy perspective. I don't know much, but I know a little bit about wolf recovery, so I think sitting and listening makes sense. It's without doubt, I know this for a fact, that without a concerted effort on the part of the citizenry of Colorado, the state will remain wolfless. It's a guarantee, folks. And so, not long ago, some of us, including important people in this room, Sally and Chip, for example, we came together and gave rise to the Rocky Mountain Wolf Project as a coalition of organizations and conservation visionaries determined to advance the gray wolf's return to its rightful place in western Colorado using education to advance a truthful impression of the gray wolf. Despite the fact that the western half of the state is ideally suited, the best wolf habitat in the United States is western Colorado. The idea of restoration struggles, and it struggles because of something Sally already said. It struggles because of the mythical wolf. The wolf myth would have you believe that they represent a threat to human safety. No, they don't. The wolf myth would have you believe they represent a threat to the livestock industry. No, they don't. The wolf myth would have you believe they represent a threat to the big game recreational hunting industry. No, they don't. The myth would have you believe that gray wolves exercise their predatory will on a whim. No, they don't. For the gray wolf, life is a daily struggle to survive. Starvation is a common cause of death. Feast or famine is their modus operandi. When things get tough, puppies suffer most of all. The Rocky Mountain Wolf Project aims to set this myth aside. Now you might say, well, Jeebus, Mike, if they struggle so, if the myth is not right, why is it that they struggle so? Well, they're really not built for their job. Now, this is a gray wolf feeding on a winter-killed bull bison in Yellowstone National Park. A good friend of mine took the photograph, Ronan Donovan, a Nat Geo photographer. But when you look at that animal, he is poorly suited for his lifestyle. His legs, other than for traveling, are no help at all in a kill. In contrast, you know why the forelimbs of a cougar are so well muscled, or a black bear, grizzly bear. They have supinating forelegs. They can reach around and grab. A gray wolf can't grab. His nails are this side of useless. They wear down. A cougar's nails are retractile, so they stay sharp forever. Grizzly bear's nails are big and heavy and strong. The gray wolf's nose doesn't help him. That long face simply ensures that the biting power at the tips of the canines are much less than they could be otherwise. Why do you think a cougar's face is so short? A gray wolf's teeth wear out and break. You know, a beaver's teeth grow for its entire life. If you're a gnawing rodent, that's a good thing. A gray wolf needs his teeth too, but they break and they wear out. He's poorly suited for his lifestyle. The Rocky Mountain Wolf Project aims to make all of this known. It aims to set the myth aside using education. And sometimes we're blessed that our educational offerings include an ambassador animal, an animal that can help set aside the devilish countenance that's often ascribed to its wild brothers and sisters. So I would like to introduce you, Barkley, I'd like to introduce you to Grizzly. Barkley, can you hear me? We need Michelle. Michelle Small, that's Shaya. Shaya's the wolf. Grizzly is Shaya's buddy. Grizzly's a good, friendly, big black dog. Michelle's Michelle. And I'm going to turn all this over. Michelle will walk Shaya and Grizzly around a bit so you can see both. Shaya, you'll notice if you get up close to him and you get a chance to look, notice how big his feet are. Gray wolves are blessed with giant feet. Indeed, they've got skillets for feet. Grizzly's the one wagging his tail and ready to let everybody pet him. Shaya is a bit unsure. Such is the nature of the mind of a wild canid. They're innately curious. There's no way they can survive otherwise. Michelle, how old is Shaya, Michelle?
All right, so Shaya is a rescue, so we're not 100% sure how old he is. We are guessing that he is between 3 to 4 years old, and that is based on a couple different factors. Unfortunately, hopefully he's not going to get scared.
I think we probably would let Shaya walk the room, and rather than approaching him, let Michelle and Shaya do the approaching. That would be best. This is hard for him, but Michelle, you're on, girl. Do what you can do.
All right, so it is going to take Shaya just a couple minutes to warm up. He is a rescue, so he is very, very shy. And as Mike mentioned, that is the nature of the beast. Wolves tend to be very, very shy of new situations and new people, which is one of the reasons why they're also very hard to see in the wild. So, like I was saying, Shaya is a rescue, and we assume that he is between 3 and 4 years old. There's a couple different reasons why we guessed his age to be that. Number one is when these guys end up in private homes, most of the time they are surrendered by the time they are 3 years old.
Come up, Michelle. They can see him a bit better if you were to come up here too with him. That way everybody could see.
Shy, come here.
Shaya's doing great, folks. This is not easy for him.
Good. You are doing very good. So the reason why we think that he's that old is because most of the time when these guys end up in private homes, they are relinquished to shelters by the time they reach maturity. So that's for a wolf is about 2 years of age. And unfortunately, that's when that cute puppy stage kind of goes away and they start turning into more of a wild animal versus, as you guys all saw, Grizzly. Very domestic, very happy, very sweet to see everybody here. So unfortunately, when these guys get taken to shelters, they are usually put down. Now, I am a volunteer at Colorado Wolf and Wildlife Center, which is out in Divide, and we happened to get contacted about him back in July of 2016, and he had been dropped off at the shelter. His name at that time was Ghost, so it's a couple different TV shows out there with wolves named Ghost, and unfortunately for him, he was going to be put down. But thankfully, we were able to pull him from the shelter, and I have been working with him for the last 2 years. 2 years ago, he would not have ever been able to do something like this. He was very, very shy, more so than he is now. But his name, it's not because he is shy, actually. The word Shaya is the Afghan word for worthy. So we felt that he was worthy for rescue, and definitely worthy to speak about wolves. So I heard Mike talked a little bit about ambassador wolves, and that's what Shaya's job here is today. So he is here to kind of bridge that gap from the wolves that you see in the wild and what they really are.
Boy.
I know, Grizzly's like, why aren't they petting me?
And I will add, having worked with these animals in the wild for decades, they have been so villainized because of the myth that there is a role for an ambassador animal. So you can see that indeed they're not that big. They're not devils incarnate. Their life is a struggle. They do fulfill a most important ecological role. Having them in the wildlands of western Colorado, folks, it's no more than a choice. It's a choice that's easily acted upon once enough people rise up in unison and make clear that the future of western Colorado should include its wild, beating heart. And you may celebrate your wildlands, but when I see western Colorado, I see a silent landscape. I go home to Montana, and it's loud and vibrant. Life matters, death matters, prey matters, predators matter. I told Barkley we'd do our best staying on time. We've got 2 minutes and 43 seconds. We could probably take a question or two of Michelle or me. I'm not sure Shaya would have anything to say. But we will also conclude, if you're willing, and I will give credit to Laura Turner. Years ago, we were in Hawaii at a big conference, and she prompted me to lead a group howl inside. It kind of set me aside that we would actually howl inside, but we can give it a go. It was followed by Sylvia Earle leading an indoor whale call, and that was then followed by Jane Goodall leading an indoor chimp call. So there's a lot to be said for howling inside. We'll do that at the end. We've got about 2 minutes. Does anybody have a quick question for either me or Michelle? Yes, sir.
You look. Oh, that's loud. You see in Africa, big issues with lion populations. Any predators getting taken out because of risk of livestock damage and all of that. And I'm sure there's similar concerns with the wolves. But I mean, how do we address that?
Oh, there's good techniques at the ready to resolve conflicts when they do arise. Conflicts will be unusually uncommon, and we've got good techniques at the ready to ensure that conflicts never occur. We have a vibrant livestock industry in the northern Rocky Mountains, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and on average it is the atypical wolf that kills livestock. Wolf depredations on livestock are not a big issue for the industry. On occasion they can be a challenge for an individual producer, but we've got, as I said, good techniques at the ready to resolve problems, good techniques at the ready that can be employed in a proactive manner to prevent conflicts from ever occurring in the first place. Here's the easy way to look at it, folks. We can put a woman on the moon and bring her back. We can take your heart out of your chest and put it back better than before. I promise you we can coexist with the gray wolf. It's just a question of choice. But thank you for the question. We've got 1 minute, and then, yes?
Will this wolf ever be reintroduced into the wild?
No. No. Now, would Shaya be able to figure it out? Maybe, but no. No, if I was advising the state of Colorado, I would suggest that they translocate wild animals from the northern Rockies, hold them in an acclimation pen for about 80 days, which serves to attenuate the wolf's homing tendency, and in other words, they set up shop near where they were acclimated, and then they become part of the Colorado landscape. But you would use wild stock. Shaya is important, but his role is different. We've got now 23, so one more question. Chip, yeah, you've earned a question, buddy.
What is it going to take to get the wolf reintroduced into the state of Colorado?
Yeah, it's a great question, Chip. Thank you, and it's a wonderful way to conclude until we howl. Please go to the website, RockyMountainWolfProject.org. We're trying to build out a loud voice in support of the wolf's return. The simple answer to Chip's question is that the wolf will never return until a large number of citizens in this state and from around the country demand that that be part of the future. But most important things are led from the bottom up. We can make that demand. We know from work done elsewhere, work that I've led, so I know this for sure, that reintroductions can be done in a manner that's humane, cost-effective, and certain. The citizenry is going to have to rise up and instruct and demand from the state and the federal government that they move on their lawful obligations to restore the gray wolf to the wilds, the public wildlands of western Colorado. Now we're 36 seconds over, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pretend as though we're in the woods and we're howling for real. And so I'll start, and then y'all can chime in any way you want. There is no wrong way to howl. The only wrong way to howl is to not howl. So y'all need to chime in. We don't know what Shaya's going to do, but it doesn't matter. We can give it a go. And we're howling in celebration of the power of a unified voice to bring the wolf back to Colorado. So give it a go. Here we go. Thank you, folks. Michelle, you did great. And boy, Shaya. Okay, that's Michelle, Grizzly, and Shaya. Thank you, folks.